In today's math lesson, I'm going to explain to you how students will use the multiplication chart to identify patterns on that multiplication chart. So here we have a typical multiplication chart that students would see in third grade. Okay, what I'm going to do first is just kind of briefly show you how to use the multiplication chart. It's really pretty easy, and it's a good way for students to learn the multiplication facts. So if I'm trying to find out what 3 times 5 is, so I have the two factors 3 times 5, I'm going to find the 3 on the vertical side of the multiplication chart and the 5 on the horizontal side of the multiplication chart. So that 3 and 5 come right from the multiplication chart. And then what we do, students would typically do, is they're going to go ahead and find where those two numbers, the 3 and the 5, of those factors 3 and 5 converge and meet. And that would be at the 15 here. So students would typically understand that 3 times 5 is 15 using the chart that way. Now, for our purposes for today, again, I'm trying to show how students identify patterns on a multiplication chart. We're going to concentrate on the fives right now, and I want to show you how one of the ways that students can see patterns. So the students might notice when they're working with multiples of 5 that some of the products end in 5. We have 5, 15, 25, 35, 45. They're going to also notice that some of the multiples of 5 end in zeros, like 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. So the students can make the generalization that multiples of 5, products that come from multiples of 5, are going to either end in a 5 or a 0. Another pattern that students can observe is the tens, right? So here we have multiples of 10, right? Or the products of 10. What students will notice here is it's pretty simple, that all multiples of 10 that make products of 10 all are end in 0. So the students will see that anytime you find an answer for a tens problem, a multiples of 10, you're going to find that the numbers end in 0. All right, so that's how you would use 5 and 10s. I'm going to share one more example with you. All right, so here we have 3s. So again, the multiplication chart is working the same way as the other chart does. But here, when we're looking at multiples of 3, what we can start to think about, another pattern that kids can think about, is that it's kind of skip counting by 3 or adding by 3 each time. So when a student does 1 times 3, that makes 3. When a student does 2 times 3, that makes 6. And that means that two groups of 3 equals 6. Students can now convert that into a multiplication problem. Here we have two groups of 3. So here's our two groups. And how many are in each group? 3. So 2 times 3 equals 6. So kids can start to see the pattern and the connections between, addition and multiplication. I'll do another example. So let's say the students want to do the next problem, 3 times 3. So here's 3 and 3, right? That makes 9. So students could say, and put it into a repeated addition equation, 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9, or convert it into a multiplication problem, 3 groups with 3 in each group, and that also equals 9. So this is a way that students can find patterns that are in the multiplication chart and then start to make generalizations about how it's going to help them to multiply in their regular everyday math.